I think Cuomo's going to win. Who do you think is going to win mayor?
The turnout is so low. A lot of people say grassroots. I like to say collectively. Because one of the things that hurt us is we will always have one that will always manipulate the rest.
Yo, 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 yo. This is Harlem Talks for real. I'm Prez, aka Cheap Allegations Poppy, aka Get Fit Poppy, aka Future Penthouse Poppy. This is my right, this is my left, to my far left, in the turtleneck, in the
Matching the red couch.
matching the red couch, brown shoes. If like your lawyer got this on, I might get you out.
You know something, man?
Yeah.
Community advocate, former candidate for state assembly, former candidate for city council, Alpheaus markets, Harlem born, Harlem raised. And to my right,
What's going on? It's Kai, Mr. Young Atlas. We're here, Harlem Talks for real. Shout out to Eric. He stuck in a little traffic today, but we're going to keep this party going. So you sent an interesting video to the chat this week about the Breakfast Club. It's just hilarious. First of all, shout out to the Breakfast Club. I think they do great work. I like the fact that they do.
So.
I like their business interviews. I like that they got Don Peoples on there. They got they got a lot of the heartbeat that happens in New York. At least they be interviewing the right people, I feel. That's just my personal take,
you know what that is, right? They got the right platform, the right people behind them.
100%.
We almost there.
I know they're a machine. They're big time.
We're machines too, if you think
As
about it.
Damon Dash said, my kid. What did he say? My kid makes cookies or something like that.
Kid got these cookies.
Yeah,
but he's not a
exactly.
boss. No.
What do you think? What do you think was the biggest moment? That was one of them on the Breakfast Club. And when Baby left, that was a good one.
That might have been the biggest moment.
That was the biggest moment.
Yeah.
Did you pull up in Ross and trick that like that? No, I'm pulling up on you, nigga.
yeah, that was good. But talk about it a little bit.
You know what's crazy? Let me say this here. Him and my cousin grew up together.
Who are your cousin?
Charlemagne, down in Montclair.
Monk's Corner,
South Carolina and shit. Me personally, I stopped watching the Breakfast Club about 2 years ago because the buffoonery. You got a platform. My thing is, you should be more understanding what's going on in the community, uplifting the community, as opposed to promoting destruction. You know what I mean? And division. Just like with the video. One of the things that kind of like, and the reason why I sent it was because, Jess Larry said, Charlemagne told her, don't worry about that. It's good for ratings.
We'll give people a little background of the video first.
Okay. So this is what happened. Jess Hilarious went on Instagram because her and, what's her name, Lauren?
Lauren, dang, what's her last name? But her first name is Lauren.
Lauren. They was beefing on set. And one of the beefs was Jess Hilarious felt that she was taking her time in her time slot. So Jess Hilarious told her, shut up.
What she did was crazy. She had a baby, went on maternity leave.
Right.
And chose her to like replace her. And then when she came back,
right,
she was still there.
Right. And she, in a way, she got a point. You know what I mean? Because she had to go through, the interview process because it was 3 people on it before. She got hired as a 3rd person. And now they have 4 people. And that was her biggest thing on the Instagram thing.
Yeah, make it the 4th person. Just don't make it, that's my sidekick type shit. Yeah.
Right. So, she said some things on Instagram. The next day, I believe, it got blown up on the Breakfast Club.
They brought it to the show.
They brought it to the show. Lauren felt that she shouldn't have said what she said on Instagram. She could have said it to her. And I watched the clip of them 2 talking. And, it looked like that B-more type attitude, like she was ready to fight. Because she said, that ain't what you said to me. I don't remember you saying that. Matter of fact, you didn't say that. And Laura was trying to cop out. You know what I mean? So when I seen that video, I was like, oh, look at this here. They promoting black women fighting for ratings. And then what ends up taking place? When I sent that video, yesterday.
Yeah.
Today I see some shit on there where they doing a Monica and Brandy
Brandon,
shit.
the job is
I said,
mine.
look at this shit
I
here.
ain't gonna lie, that shit was kind of funny.
I mean,
It was funny to me,
I think it's just for ratings.
but
though.
but everything's a roll up.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I don't watch a show like that, man. I just,
You seen the latest shit that went viral? The dude with his morning routine,
nah.
where he drinks the water. He wakes up at 3. What is this shit? He wakes up at 3:55. Then he does push-ups for about 15 minutes at 4 o'clock. Then he listens to like a podcast or some Bible shit. Then he writes into a journal. Then he takes the spring water, dumps it into a bucket, puts it
On
dumps
his face?
dumps it, yeah. And it was like, yo, that's all bullshit.
That's too much for likes.
Everything's for likes and bullshit.
And the sad part about it, look at the youths.
Everything's for likes.
Because they promote this, right? And, I'm old enough to remember you had the positive rap. Then they start pushing the gangster rap because the positive rap was, waking people up. They start pushing like I said, the gangster rap where the shoot 'em up, bang, bang. And now they talking about drill rap. And they push this. And it's killing our youths. So my thing is, you got a platform, if you're going to be credible and uplift the people, or you're going to continue to destroy the people.
You just had that thing not too recently with Drill where they was trying to get it kicked off the airways. And your guy, Eric Adams, met with all of them
Yeah,
to speak on how they could change the narrative.
that ain't going to stop.
I mean, you can't get like a genre of music kicked off the air though.
Listen, even when they had gangster rap, right? The record companies, knowing what was going on, would take out insurance policies on the rappers. Especially after that Tupac Biggie thing.
I think they still do that now.
They still do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And they invest in private prisons.
Well, everybody invests in private prisons.
Yeah, I know,
Because
but
they
they
know
have, yeah.
the music itself is what
Gonna lead you to it.
is what it is for control, conditioning.
Right.
And when you got that cartel, somebody getting drunk.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see, I was so disgusted with the New Yorker that they had, and I'll try and put a picture of it in this episode when I'm talking about it. It was Eric Adams on the cover, and they just had a rat, like, near his face.
But
It's just like,
They put a rat over his face.
it's just taking it too far. First of all, what have they proved on him? It's just the media is just trying to, I don't know, it's just not fair. I don't like the way they're,
wait a minute, let's go back to one of the first episodes that we shot.
yeah.
Remember what I said about it? I said, they don't really have anything on him.
Nope.
All this is designed to do is convict him in the media.
In the media,
Exactly.
out
Court
in the
of
public.
public opinion.
Court of public opinion.
And that's it. And that's what they did. And they've been successful with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because anytime we ask somebody about Adams, it's something usually negative.
Yeah.
And they're going to make us look like we was the Adams podcast. So like, nah, like, I don't, like, do I think he's done the best job as a mayor? No. Was he put in a tight spot, in a bad spot in the beginning? Because remember, he came up during COVID. Like,
Yeah.
yo, how can the city bounce back from the pandemic? And then we was chosen to be a sanctuary city. We didn't vote on that. Like, they just threw it on us. And it's like,
Look,
yo.
and it was a sanctuary city before he got in office.
Yeah.
So what he was just supposed to do?
Yeah.
I think he was handcuffed by a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can get how he was a little reckless with maybe
Party.
appointing people in his crew. You know?
But everybody do that.
No,
everybody
100%.
got some shit that looks like some
Look,
shit.
everybody do that.
Yeah.
Where he messed up at, and I said this before, instead of him putting the blame on sanctuary city and migrants on Congress, the Congress members here in New York, he went to the White House.
Yeah.
And, they put that DOJ on him quick.
Yeah.
They started looking at everything.
That's the system. He went against the system.
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah, he went against it.
Yeah.
Anytime you go against the system, before they put a bullet in your head. Now,
Yeah, there's repercussions.
look,
This
put
shit gotta
you
be
in
clean.
jail.
This shit gotta be clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you got some shit that look like some shit. It's like, all right, let's
Yeah.
throw it out there. And, he wasn't the most popular mayor in New York due to certain things in the city.
Yeah.
He's outside too much. The way he talked to people, because even when he was running, I'm like, yeah, he's arrogant and he talk like a cop. And I'm like, he's gonna rub people the wrong way.
You
Like,
see when he was talking about when he was younger, he did that. I think he was doing some town hall. He was like, I remember when I was younger and I was going to visit a shorty I had in Queens.
niggas killed him for that.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
No,
I
he
like
said
that.
he was going to visit a shorty uptown.
Oh, okay.
He said
And he
that
had to
again.
ride the train all the way from Queens.
Oh,
He
okay,
said that
got you,
again. He
got
said he
you.
had a shorty on Fort
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah.
And I'm like,
That's why I fuck with you, Eric
I
Adams.
said, yo, everybody had a shorty in Fort Rock.
Yeah.
Like, everybody had a chick in Fort Rock.
You know, and I think that's why he won. You know, he was a New Yorker. He knew where the bodies were hidden. You know, we thought.
You know what the vibes is. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Be uptown. I know what y'all do uptown.
So you think? I think Cuomo's gonna win. Who you think's gonna win mayor?
Sleeper?
Well, yeah.
Who's your sleeper?
I think the sleeper, because now it's Cuomo and Assemblyman, the socialists from Queens.
What's his name?
Zandan, Zoomin, I forgot
Oh,
his name.
I know that guy.
That's a sleeper.
Yeah.
I don't know who that
He's
is.
got the Repair Act, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the free housing,
Yeah. His policies are good.
you know. But here's the thing, right? You got to look at his voting record when he was up in Albany.
You
know what
talking
I'm
about Cuomo?
No,
The guy, the sleeper.
Yeah,
you're talking
the
about?
sleeper.
The sleeper.
Yeah.
you got to look at it like when you look at all the candidates, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Cuomo was governor. Terrible. Terrible. And blacks love him, and he ain't do nothing for blacks.
Yeah. People loved him during the pandemic,
During
though.
the
Right.
pandemic, 'cause
Yeah.
he did the CNN shit with his brother.
Right.
And he kind of was like going back and forth with Trump, and niggas was like, yeah, talk to him. Yeah, I figured.
You got Scott Stringer, right?
Right.
Former comptroller. He really don't have too much on the plate. And he was a comptroller. Before that, he was city council,
Talking about him, Zohran
Yeah.
Mamdani. Okay, got you.
right?
Yeah.
Then you got Brad. And if you look at Brad is trying to get the fucking mayor spot any way he can. Remember he told Kathy Hochul before Cuomo got in office, get him out of office. Because you got to hold a special election. You know what I'm saying? And he's out there and he's most popular and he would have won by default. But Brad has a lot of baggage. You know what I'm saying? A lot of baggage. Responsible for sanctuary cities when he was city council, right? There appears to be a conflict of interest because him being comptroller, his wife being one of the top lobbyists for some of these nonprofits, and the disparities in the way that the money is shifted when it comes down to minority-owned and black-owned nonprofits and businesses.
Yeah.
It's not being, you know. So the rest of the candidates, like you really look at, you be like, you ain't got a chance. You just in the way.
Yeah, that's true.
So this thing you've been running, is Eric Adams even like running again?
He 9 out of 10. He's gonna run on the independent line. I can see that. He won't go Republican, but he will run on the independent.
Okay. So pretty much it's coming down to either Cuomo or Adams.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think his ego is gonna allow him, you know, just to
Not yeah.
fall back.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't see that. Cuomo, people be a fool to vote for Cuomo.
I think he has a good chance of being our next mayor though. But yeah.
No. Popularity wise, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got the name recognition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But look what he did for the people in Niger. Right? When you look at Cuomo's record, president, he was the chair of HUD. He knew Niger residents, public housing, was getting like a train ran on them by elected officials.
A train.
Listen,
Yeah.
New York, state of New York, at one point, public housing had a surplus of $10 billion. The state took that under Pataki. They never returned it. You know what I'm saying? And just like every other city that had public housing, they was using public housing as a personal piggy bank. You know what I'm saying? To where the federal government said, yo, wait a minute, hold up. We ain't paying for this no more. We're going to get people that know what they doing to fix our those that's federally funded. Cuomo, when he ran for office for his reelection, right? We had a chance to literally be on his campaign. My thing was this here. I said, I can't vote for him or support him when he know what's going on in Niger. A couple of guys that I was with, this is what broke us up. They got paid to literally parade Cuomo around public housing. At the time, we was trying to get public housing to become a PAC. I said, yo, listen, make Cuomo commit, have everybody endorse the other guy. It's a win-win for them. Because Cuomo is not going to be able to give the money. At the time, NYCHA needed, at that time, 500, he promised them $551 million, right? In a budget that was already $1.5 billion in the red. He couldn't, no way in hell he could give him that money. I said, make him commit to the promise. Back the other guy, at the time it was Mark Molinaro. I said, because this here, if he win, right, they don't become a PAC, and he ain't gonna give them money. But if he commit openly and they back this guy, all they need is 50,000 votes to become a PAC. They'd have became a PAC. He'd have still had to deliver. But his thing was, you can't endorse this guy. Imagine 600,000 residents becoming a political PAC. Now you got to come to us because we got the voting block.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Powerful. And, you know, I just couldn't sell my soul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally, he promised $551 million. You know how much they end up getting? $141 million.
And you already said it was like $1 billion in debt. So they pretty much ain't get shit.
Ain't get nothing. And that, I believe strongly, if in the right context, would destroy his run. Because you're going to need people from Niger.
To come vote for you, yeah.
And if I'm people in Niger, you left us hanging. I would never support him.
It's important for people to know.
Yeah.
Speaking of politics, what's his name? Raymond Santana. He's running, right?
Good job.
Yeah, exonerated another member of the exonerated five.
Running for city council.
City council. He's running for Maritza Riverita's seat. Anybody? It's funny. It's Diana Ayala. She's the councilman, but literally she was Maritza's chief of staff. So it's really Maritza's seat. Maritza says who goes in that seat. Do I think Raymond would make a good candidate for? Not at all.
Why?
Why? One, he's there for one purpose, and that's to satisfy the machine. He's in the middle of a war, right, that literally doesn't benefit his constituents. And they could care less about the constituents. He's there just for name recognition, that's it. Same problem you see when we're going through with Yusuf. How many bills did Yusuf put out?
Not many, not enough.
And literally, what the bills is on?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't see it.
So what type of, I guess, character or what type of politician has to run in order to not be compromised by the machine? Like, how can they get things done without being so biased?
The people, and this is what's missing out of politics. A lot of people don't understand this, right? It's the people that put you in office.
Yeah.
They frustrated the people from voting, so now it's the machine that puts you in office.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they got a dedicated base majority of times that base is all seniors, and they're gonna go with who they've been going with and trust who they trust, because, and it's sad to say, you know, we speak about this all the time where the older generation don't want to pass the torch down to the youth.
It's gatekeeping, yeah.
And they want to gatekeep, and that's what's taking place even with voting. You can look at the way voting turnout is. Voter turnout is so low
Yeah, that's true.
because people are frustrated.
Yeah.
So what ends up taking place? You got corporations that get involved.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We seen that in, look, some of the campaign finance investigations and criminal cases that was going on, where they said, yo, these corporations would give them money and they would make fictitious people within them districts sign campaign.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shows you
Yeah.
the voters is not there because the people don't really see anybody that they can trust. And that comes from both the politicians and some of these, you know, so-called church leaders.
Right. That's true. I look at it kind of like Wall Street now. Like politics is kind of similar, where Wall Street gets to do whatever they do because they use, you know, synthetic CDOs and terms no one fucking knows about.
Yeah.
But if you simplify that shit, people would wake up and be like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck? That's fucked up." You know, for politics, they'll say like AMI, something like that.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? I don't know what that means. But if they said, "This, we're using the average income of all New York to say what's affordable in your neighborhood," they would get pissed off.
And you know what happened with that? Think about this. When they redistrict Harlem,
Yeah.
they brought downtown up in Harlem.
Exactly. Which is
And
fucked
that's
up.
why they pricing us out.
Speaking of that, there's an interesting bill I saw that Gillibrand and Congresswoman Clark put into. I think they submitted the bill in 2022. It probably won't pass, but it's to recalculate AMI so that it's specifically local, so that they could target the actual income in the neighborhood rather than, you know, the way they're calculating it now.
Well, here's why they doing it. And you gotta look at this for what it is. Two Democrats. They realize that they're losing their base.
Big time.
Yeah.
So your base literally is between classes. You know what I'm saying? The upper class, lower class. You have more middle class people that's being priced out, and lower class is priced out. So you want to cater to them.
Yeah.
You want to make it feasible for them to be able to.
To stay there so they could vote for you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
You could have been did this. Y'all been knowing what was going on, and y'all refused to do anything.
Hey, still something that could help us.
No. Wait, hold.
I know. It's a win-win for the politicians too.
But what I'm saying is the game they play.
Yeah.
Well, they're just catching on.
Yeah.
Something they could have been done, but nobody wanted to do it.
Well, they started to see the voter turnout too.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, they're starting to lean to the other side.
But
People frustrated.
frustrated.
And like, I keep voting for this shit, and the shit ain't happening my way, so I might as well go to the other side.
Right. Like somebody told me, he said, yo, so you like what Trump doing? I said, Trump ain't my issue, man. They said, why you say that? I said, just look at this and look at it with common sense here. If politicians was doing what they supposed to be doing, right? Do you really believe Trump would have a platform?
No.
Because remember, he was talking this nonsense about 30 years. Remember, he was on Oprah. Him and Oprah was buddy. He was talking about, would you run for president? He's like, nah. And he was talking about everything that was wrong with politics and all the rest of that. And nobody listened. He built himself a brand, right? They ain't take him serious.
Yeah.
And what ended up taking place? He wound up running on a platform that the average person that was tired of what's going on said, yeah, that's right.
Because when you say they didn't take him serious, it's really
The machine.
a lot of the intellectuals and the elites in New York and like Cali.
They didn't take him serious.
That's a big middle that took him seriously.
Big middle is serious. That don't like New York and California.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
They don't fuck with us.
And
They look at us like you're the uppity.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, a lot of people that live in the middle of the country, this is gonna make us sound like mad New York, but we're from New York. They're gonna be like, yo, New York. They think every New Yorker is rich, doing by law.
yeah.
You drive 2 Bentleys.
All went to prep school.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. That's not it.
Look, when you used to go out of town, right? Once they knew you was from New York, Oh, them niggas.
Them niggas, the New York niggas. They be
New
mad
York,
at New York niggas.
they be mad as a motherfucker
New York
because of the
niggas.
perception.
Exactly.
We actually
You know
had
what I'm
that talk too. Like, so like a lot of New Yorkers are moving to like different cities.
Yeah.
And they're like turning it into like mini New York. But what happens with that, prices start to go
Yeah.
up. It's like, yo, get these fucking New Yorkers out of here.
The fuck out! They making it. They brought up the price of fucking living. Look, they spending money we ain't got.
Right.
People trying to cater to them.
The bottle service is out the
Yeah.
roof because you got New Yorkers in there.
Right.
But all the bottles, like what the fuck, man?
Right.
Like,
Rocking a bunch of jumpsuits and shit.
get these New Yorkers out of here.
Yeah, so we can go back to our regular way of living.
I wanted to ask you, since people don't know the process, you've ran for office. What offices have you personally ran for?
State Assembly and City Council.
Okay, so what is state assembly? What are the roles of an assemblyman or a woman?
State Assembly, they make the laws
Okay,
that basically everybody, that's a legislative branch.
gotcha.
They're the lower house of legislation. Everything, just like Congress. Everything get passed to the House, then it goes up to the Senate, then it goes to either the governor or the president to sign, right? If they don't sign, it can always be vetoed. Same
Right.
process.
Okay.
It's common courtesy, but they lawmakers.
Gotcha. And then what's the process to get elected? Like, how did you run?
You get your team, you get your petitions.
How many signatures you need?
Needed 2,500 at one point, and you definitely got to have a strong team. When I say strong team, you need fundraisers, people that can handle the contacts for various leaderships that you're gonna have to, go speak to. It's a lot. You're gonna need your media, you're gonna need a team.
How much you think you need to raise in order to be effective?
To be effective, literally you could raise 20,000, right? And be effective.
Okay.
But you always want to raise more. This way you're able to open up job opportunities for staff.
Right. Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes
Because
sense.
the people that's working with you, you know what I mean? You want to be able to provide for them because they doing it, either volunteer, but you want to make sure they get money for it.
I've seen, speaking of that, I've seen like some of these staff that works for some of these politicians. It's kind of interesting, especially in politics, where it's like, once you see like, oh damn, like that chief of staff or that aide they're sharp, they're super good.
Yeah.
Sadly, what happens is then 3 years later, they're running against that person. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that happens a lot in our community.
Well, here's why. A lot of them see weaknesses.
Right.
And when they see the weaknesses, they want to exploit those weaknesses.
But then also the opposite is then a lot of those politicians start hiring people that aren't up to snuff really. So their staff is not that talented.
Not at
just
all.
so there is no threat within. you
Yeah.
know?
Let me tell you. My final semester, one of my capstones, I had to take an internship. You'd be surprised, a lot of elected officials didn't want me on their staff.
They do?
They smell
No.
you coming.
No, they don't.
They don't.
Oh,
saw
yeah,
you coming.
yeah, of course.
Because in their mind, they know the work I do.
Yeah, you're a threat.
So it's like, nah, I ain't gonna open up a door for him. And I'm like, you benefit dealing with me, because whatever resources I got, I'm gonna make sure your community get it.
Yeah. Like if I was in office, I'd be like, all right, listen, you're gonna work with me. We're gonna make a little clause here.
Yeah.
You can't run against me in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
All right? You got 3 years of dealing with me.
Because literally, a lot of these guys,
Is that
I'm
legal?
not gonna run. Listen, a lot of these guys, I'm not gonna run for their office anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because for what?
All right. So then, did you run for council?
I ran for city council in 2021. I lost to Christian Jordan.
Right, Christian Jordan. She was actually the one who successfully advocated against the 145. Right?
She came in late on that one.
Got you. And what is the responsibility of a city council person?
City council makes sure They like your lawmakers. They make laws, local laws, right? That the police department, the mayor's office have to comply with.
What's the difference between council and assembly then?
It's just a county level law legislator. Like the laws they make is for the county. And when I say county, right, you see like the lower courts, criminal courts, those have jurisdictions over the rules and regulations that they introduce.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when you got city council, their job literally is to provide oversight over a lot of things, which they don't do.
Well, you'd have been a terror in there.
You know what I'm saying?
Why you not doing this?
Yeah.
Why you not doing that?
You know what I mean? And no, you say within the last 11 years, right? Mm-hmm. I used to have like literally council, assembly people that used to be upset. And I'm not gonna say they was upset. I would go as far as saying they didn't like when I came into their communities. You know what I'm saying? Because there would be issues. And the first thing I would ask people is, did you go to your local elected officials? Yeah, they ain't doing nothing. So if you ain't doing nothing there, why should I go to you? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like if it's a problem with gun violence, something like that, and I come in their community, yo, how come you ain't call me and let me know? Oh, tell me, this is your community. If anything, you're supposed to be calling me to come stand with you. If I got to come up here, it's a problem.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you, so I know you're in law school. Are you thinking of running again?
You stole my question. I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm on a roll here.
You know what's crazy? I put something up. I said, yo, as soon as I finish my undergrad and my year of law school, right, I might run for Congress.
Oh, nice.
And I started naming seats.
You tagging people, I'm going to take your job?
No, like in the areas where they at.
Yeah, I'm going to take your job. They don't see that? I'm going to take your job.
People's like, yo, yeah, come on back. Da, 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 da. I was like, yo, look at this shit.
I have a question. What do you, now that we're, especially in black communities, like this, I feel like a lot of the smartest, most talented people are going to like Wall Street, private equity, because they want, that door is open to make a lot of money and change your families. But don't you think some of those people really should get more involved in local politics?
Of course they should.
Because that would change the game, I think, for our communities.
Of course they should.
Because then they become alienated, they live in different communities, and that disconnect is really, I think, hurting us.
But believe it or not, it's always like that. And it's one of the reasons why.
Well, I'm saying back when it was when you had Charlie Rangel and Percy Sutton and Dinkins, those guys they didn't have as many opportunities to go down to Wall Street and pick up those checks. And that's why Harlem was so, one of the reasons.
Let me say this here. A lot of them guys, when they had Harlem, they started mimicking what was going on downtown in the community. And this is one of the reasons why our community is the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Instead of literally unifying the communities, right? They became a group within themselves that looked down on everybody else.
True, there was elitist things to it, yeah.
And that created more harm than it helped. Because you can see the gentrification.
Yeah.
And then you can see how those that was underneath them mimic some of the things that they was doing.
Yeah.
And they wanted to control, centralize what was going on. We see it all the time. We spoke about it. Look at your pet peeve, Columbia.
Yeah.
Look at all the black leaders, you know what I'm saying, that they got, come here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they have a lot of influence, I get it. So like maybe for younger, or not even younger, just for people who are of the community in black neighborhoods who might be watching that are trying to figure out how they could have the most influence and help, but also be successful in life. Like what are some avenues you would suggest they go down?
A lot of people say grassroots. I like to say collectively. Because one of the things that hurt us is we will always have one that will always manipulate the rest. And if you don't have a strong group of people, leadership, with the same, you know what I'm saying, agenda and commonality for the community, that's the only way it works.
Yeah.
Only way. One of the things when I ran for office, I ran on accountability. Reason why I ran on accountability was because, fact, listen, I'm doing the work. You know what I'm saying? I'm helping families.
Yeah.
You guys ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing. That stops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're going to start holding you accountable. And that's what needs to be done. People need to really look at the issues that's going on in the communities and stop settling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like, especially in Harlem, the sentiment is like, because I was talking about it in a meeting the other day, where people think, like, if Harlem being extinct, they think it's like, we're here, where it's like the game's pretty much over. We only got 10%. I only think it's right here. I think there's still a lot of change that could be done.
There is a lot of change that can be done.
Yeah.
And it's just literally getting the collective minds
That's
together.
what I'm saying. It's a lot of change that could be done, especially since there's so few people walking that walk, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have a couple more people that are putting their minds and skills toward that cause. That's a game changer,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's why I always say, when you have, what's the word I like to say? When you have credibility, right? And you always teaching, showing, that way they understand what it is that's going on, as opposed to telling them, it ain't gonna work. I can show you. This is what it is. Look for yourself. That way you see it. Oh, that shit is facts, what he's saying. Yeah, I'm gonna support that. That's what's missing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
definitely. So we
Sound
got
like you getting up for a campaign.
I'm just gearing up to do some more content on these issues, and I think it's important for people to understand.
That's the end of you. Would you ever run for city council, state assembly?
I don't think so. I feel like if I really built up some wealth and the responsibility was there and I needed to do it, I think I would.
Yeah.
But I think I would rather, I don't know, I'm not doubting myself, but I think there's some smarter, more charismatic people that I'd rather back
Push, yeah.
and be behind the scenes, honestly. I think that's more my personality. But,
There's nothing wrong with that.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Because once you control a base, now they gotta
Yeah.
come to you. And that's what's missing.
I think that's more influence too. Like you can, once you're in office, you got to do a lot of compromising shit sometimes to stay there. But
I don't think so, man.
Not necessarily.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
But a lot of people, when they go in, I think it gets a little gray.
Look, I ain't gonna lie to you.
If you don't have the money and the base behind you.
Let me show you this here, right? I'm not gonna put the assembly member's name out there, right? I remember go up to Albany. He wants to show me how laws is made. So we call down to his policy. Hey, can we make a law where if you got a dog, you could, you know, put them on your taxes? He said, yo, I think we could squeeze that in there. Right? And to show you. Is to show you. You see how politicians say, yo, man, it's 2,500 pages in that motherfucker. We can't read every single page. We gotta, like, whoa, you rushed this in. We gotta sit back and see this.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fluff. And then you get to the real stuff, you're like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. What the fuck? No! You know what I'm saying? Like, you had the infrastructure bill, right? In that infrastructure bill, guess what was in it? Cities and counties with 1 million people or more can implement congestion pricing. You know how many people signed on to that?
A lot.
You got 2 people that's running for governor in New Jersey that's talking about it, oh, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong.
What they signed for?
What you signed on for?
That's funny.
Yeah, and I get that because, that's why it's like you said, it's important to have the collective that understands issues because politicians are involved with so many different problems that they're not going to be able to understand, everything.
No, a lot of them, and you can see what's going on in politics now. You see the AOCs teaming up with the Bernie Sanders, right? Everybody like, yo, Democrats, we're bringing the Democrats back. And I'm like, y'all are looking at bipartisan because Bernie's an independent. He's not a Democrat. She's a Democrat. They're two different parties working together. But to everybody else, it's, oh, they're Democrats. They're against the other Democrats. No, they're bipartisan. And once people start educating themselves, they'll be able to see through the schemes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting episode. I'm excited to see your next moves in the political arena, my friend.
We gonna run some candidates.
Yeah.
That's what we gonna do.
Yeah, we need some. I think the country needs some more superstars. You know who I like? That one woman who got into it with what's her name?
I know you was gonna say this shit. Jasmine Crockett.
I think
She's a fraud, man.
I knew. That's why I wanted to save this for the last 5 minutes, just to get that exact reaction. So that was the real sandbag. I had that in my back pocket the whole interview.
I felt that one.
Yeah. So
Remember when we talked about AOC, a dingbat? It did.
Jasmine, she can talk though.
That's all she doing. You got to look at the bills man. She talk all that black nonsense,
Yeah.
this and that, but you got to look at the bills she introduced or sponsored.
Right.
It doesn't benefit the black community.
So let's say you got voted in next week. What's the first bill you're putting in?
Where at?
In Harlem?
No, I'm talking about.
Councilman, let's say you take Yusef Salam's seat. What are you going to do?
Oh, first thing I'm doing literally is to bring the people's trust in, right? This is a bill that I gave to some of the city council people. One of the bills that I would literally put together and implement is police accountability, right? We have a serious problem where, and it's not always takes place, but when it do take place, there's no accountability from the police department. You have officers that will get arrested. District attorneys, due to the professional relationship, will bring charges that they can't substantiate, right? And the jury or the grand jury will never hear if the officer was literally performing his duties the way he was trained to do. They never hear that. One of the reasons why Derek Chauvin and Eric Gardner, not Eric Gardner, George Floyd case, right, was because immediately the police department said that wasn't part of his training. The jury was able to hear that.
Trying to get that excuse out the books.
Huh?
You're trying to get that excuse out the books.
Yeah, they said, yo, listen, hold up. That's not a part of his training. We don't train him for net codes and all the rest of that. He did that on his own. You know what I'm saying? You gotta abide by training. That's why, literally, when you hear people talk about, oh, we're gonna abandon 58, this and that, I'll be like, come on now, you get the fuck out of it with that bullshit.
What would you do in terms of addressing the housing crisis?
Housing crisis, literally, here's the problem with housing, right? New York City wastes $2.2 billion on shelter providers, right?
On what?
Shelter providers.
Oh, okay.
And I'm giving this shit away. I'm giving this shit away literally for free, right? Shelter providers.
We'll have a Patreon soon, so chill.
Yeah. Shelter providers literally double dip, right? One, they run the shelters. They're not providing the proper transition for people to transit out into permanent housing. They're not giving them the services. I had this conversation with both DHS, HPD, right? Majority of the shelter providers is charging people for rent.
Hold on, so people in shelters are getting charged for rent?
because they let them live there longer than what they're supposed to live.
So how long are you supposed to live in a shelter or be in a shelter?
6 months to a year
So I'm okay.
before you transition to permanent housing.
Okay.
These shelter providers are literally double dipping. So they're getting paid off the vouchers and they're getting paid to find people and provide.
Oh, that's wild.
You know what I'm saying? So what ends up taking place? Your question, what would you do about housing? A lot of people don't know that they increased the dollar amount of vouchers, right? From $1,500 for one bedrooms to $2,300. That made it standard. And nobody was held in compliance as far as why this money is being allocated. You know what I'm saying? Because they're tired of paying, but they're not paying what they're supposed to really pay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you have people that's in shelters 4 or 5 years.
Jeez.
Unfucking believable.
4 or 5 years in a shelter is wild.
Like people in SROs, they don't have the what's her name? Housing manager specialists. So the vouchers that they have is going to the SROs. This is some of the things that's going on. Nobody's being fiscally responsible. And then the first thing you do is you have people talking about, oh, why so many homeless people? They don't have an environment that's conducive. One of the things they're doing right now in Albany is they want to make a law where they can commit people, right? But they're not looking at the fact that majority shelter providers within the RFP, they say that they provide service for mental health.
Mm.
So if you don't provide service for mental health, why are you getting the money? Is that a waste of taxpayer money?
Yeah, that's a waste of my money as a taxpayer.
Yeah, I agree. That's a big issue. Well, all right. I think that's a good episode today. We'll talk some more about these issues.
Yeah.
I'll see you in City Hall. We'll talk about this.
See you at City Hall.
We'll talk about this mayoral election some more.
See you on the 6th Street.
Exactly. All right. It's been a good episode. Harlem Talks for real. You want to close this out, my friend?
Yo, 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 yo. This is a fantastic episode of Harlem Talks for real. I'm Prez, a.k.a. Cheap Allegations Poppy, a.k.a. Get Fit Poppy, a.k.a. Future Penthouse Poppy. To my far left in the turtleneck and I'll get you out of jail shoes.
Yo. Community advocate Alpheaus Marcus, political consultant. And to my right,
Kai Cogsville, Mr. Young Atlas.
We got to talk about that Mr. Young Atlas shit.
It is Mr. Young Atlas.
Nah, because people be hitting me up thinking that now I've been like tagged in pictures and they've like been addressed me as Atlas and say, yo, I'm not Atlas, I'm Prez, but I work for Young Atlas. I said, nah, I thought you was Atlas. I said, no, talk to that guy.
It's a team.
It's a team, but talk to that guy.
You know, it's a team. So, all right, we out of here.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.